Well, hello again. My name's Dan. And there was a little situation. They ordered a part, went to put it into the rack. It wouldn't fit in the rack. Come to find out, the polarization pins didn't match the LRU. And they're, oh, I need a tizzer, I need this, I need that. You need to figure out what's correct. Is the rack correct? Is the box correct? And which one is it? All the information you need to know is in the wiring diagram, the SWPM. You don't have to do this very often, and it typically happens with an LRU. They rekeyed it wrong when it came back from the shop, or the aircraft was not a Southwest Airlines aircraft. In the configuration check, they missed it somehow. Let's dive into the wiring diagram, and I'll show you how to figure out what your polarization key, how it should be on the aircraft. We are inside and we need to get into the wiring diagram. What you need to do, you just need to use your effectivity in the toolbox. So let's just make one up. We'll go with this aircraft right here, Explore Library, because what you need, when we go to the wiring diagram and we start pulling this up, we needed everything grayed out, okay, that's not effective for our aircraft, and that includes part numbers in the wiring diagram equipment list. We'll use the wing body overheat as an example. Let's go in here. D742 is miskeyed. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, they pulled a wing to body overheat box out of the stock room, went to plug it in the rack, and it won't plug in. Okay, so what's right? What's wrong? The box wrong, or is the aircraft wrong? One of them's wrong, and we need to figure out which one. First thing we need is part number, because in that part number in the wiring diagram equipment list has the keying code for that connector. So if we go to the wiring diagram equipment list, go down to 742, boom, here's our part number that goes in the rack. The tail end of that part number is the 0031. That is our keying code. Now typically I will paste that part number so I don't lose it, or write it down, or print that page, whatever you want to do. When we go to the SWPM, we put that part number in place. You just need the base number, you don't need the whole number. And here we see the DPX BMB 5733S, we see that it is in 207111. Everything about that connector is going to be located in 207111. So when we go over there, if you're not too sure what part of that part number is the code, scroll down. Sometimes it's really long. We get to the part numbers, and here we go. Okay, it's telling you what every part of that part number means, what series it is, airing size, what class, contact configuration, that can be handy, shell type. It's important to note there that the rack portion is considered a plug. A lot of people think of the rack as a receptacle. It typically is not. The rack connector is the plug. Look at there, polarization code. Ours is 0031. As we can go down and look, it says connector, polarization, and connection part number. Here is for the DPDs. We scroll down and there is the DPX. Every time I do this, I get a little bit confused, and I have to take a moment to get this thing straight in my head. Read the note. For the plug, which is the rack, the dark areas show the polarization post. For the receptacle, the dark area shows the solid part of the polarization key. Number one, it's easy to tell that 1 matches 4. That's easy to see. But when you look at this, in my crazy mind, 2 matches up with 5, and that's not true. 2 matches up with 3, and 5 matches up with 6. You have to mentally and three-dimensionally pick number 3 up off of the page, pick it up, turn it around 180 degrees, and plug it into 2. Remember, you're looking at this receptacle or plug. It takes me a minute. If this is totally clear in your head and you have no problem with it whatsoever, then God bless you. But I'm telling you, if you get a little confused, don't feel bad, because I do every time. But if you come down and look for the 0031, the LRU, the receptacle, should be polarized 344. The plug, which is the rack, should be polarized 1, 1, 2. Here we see this particular contact that we're looking at as our example, the DPX 33. Notice they are not labeled. Doesn't matter which way the rack is facing, whether it's facing forward or facing aft, and it's not captain side, co-pilot side. It's not number 1, number 2, number 3. It's as you're looking at the connector. The receptacle, or the LRU, as you're looking at it, is left key, center key, right key. As you're looking at the rack, it's left post, center post, right post. The right post fits into the left key socket. Keep that in mind. Down here, and you're looking at this where it says left, center, right. The left one goes into the right. The left one goes into the right. Imagine folding this piece of paper down the middle and folding it over. That's how they match up. Keep that clear in your head. You don't need a tizzer. Everything you need is there. It's just sometimes it gets a little confusing looking it up. Well, that's about it. It's not too terribly complicated. The only problem is you don't do it very often. You think I'm making this video for you, but actually I'm kind of making it more for myself so I'll have some way to come back. I always have to figure this out every time I have to do it, which is once every 2 or 3 years. It just drives me crazy. Sometimes I just want to scream. Oh, one more thing. If it were me, you're you can do what you want. But if it were me, in that corrective action, I would state, no, had to reconfigure polarization pins on the rack or on the LRU per wiring diagram 27 blah 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 and SWPM 207111. Make note that you did that. Don't do any undocumented maintenance. If there's any questions asked about this, they're going to be impressed that you knew how to look this up. Now, if you're changing the polarization pins on the LRU, make sure that manufacturer's part number is effective for that aircraft. That's the only warning I could give you. The aircraft side's wrong and you rekey in the aircraft side, that's easy. You're done. Do it, you're done. I would, in my corrective action, make mention that I changed the polarization pins to match the wiring diagram. Guys, be safe, don't get in trouble, and have a nice day.